I never stop loving that. Anyway, it's time for Neil's spiel about the left's spiel about the richest sweet deal. And like clockwork, starting off the new year, bashing him and demanding still more cash from him. Shock of shocks. Harry Reid and Liz Warren picking up on last year's anti-rich crusade by upping the ante and upping the threat. For the rich, it goes, I think, something like this. You got it, we want it, now cough it up and give it. But here's my question. Give what? They already raised the top rate to 39.6%. What's more, you throw in Medicare and healthcare-related surtaxes on the rich, it is now closer to about 45%. I haven't even gotten into state and local taxes. That takes that rate well over 50, close to 55%. So if paying more than half your income in taxes isn't enough, then tell me exactly what is enough. Is it 55%? Is it 60%? Is it 70%? What is it? All I know is Charlie Rangel once told me the top rate used to be north of 70%. So, quoting here, we have a lot more room to go. To go where, Congressman? Back to those levels when you all but chased money out of this country? And they wonder why corporations keep so much money in other countries, countries that want that money and will offer any enticement they can to get more of that money. I mean, is it me or is it any wonder that money finds a home where it finds the least resistance and the fewest penalties? That is why corporations seek out havens. They're not stupid. And they seek out those with the lowest tax rates, not the highest tax rates in the industrialized world, not the kind of rates they're finding in this corner of that world. Pity a lot of liberals don't get it, but tragic they have the nerve to keep pushing it. Just when the economy is gaining traction, despite them, we're risking chucking it all because of them? Because I distinctly remember President Obama saying, finally the rich are paying their fair share when he got his tax hikes through. I told you then, like I'm telling you now, that he wasn't through. Because it is far easier to demand more revenue than it is to simply show some spending resolve. So, I resolve to settle this once and for all. What is a fair share in taxes? I'm going to hear from both sides. My friend Nomiki Konst says not 45%. You got to go higher. Matt Schlapp says not 45%. You got to go lower. Lower. All right, Nomiki, 45% ain't cutting it. What would?
All right, so let's talk a little history here. Eisenhower doesn't get enough credit. During Eisenhower's day, your Republican Eisenhower, tax rate for the highest income earners was 90%.
You're right.
And guess what? Right following that, that caused the highest growth period in the 50s and 60s. And it went down to 70%.
Paid that top rate?
How many?
4 people.
The captains of industry, the titans,
so, all right.
were carrying the economy on their backs.
You want to go back to 90%.
But even under Reagan, it was 50%. Right now, it's at 39.6%.
Remember, Reagan brought it down all the way to 28%.
Sure, but he started by bringing it down to 50. And then guess what happened? We went into recession.
It started north of 70.
We went into recession after Reagan years.
Were rates a lot lower when he left office?
Yes, but as a result, we had no growth.
28%. All right, bottom line. So you don't think 45% is the answer? Are you saying 90%?
I'm saying let's find it somewhere in between. We're not going to get 70%
in between
with
is
this
like
Congress.
in the 70s.
Yeah, but we're not going to get that with Congress. What we're saying is 2 out of 3 Americans think that the top 2% earners, we're talking billionaires, should increase their taxes.
What should it be?
I'd say for the top 2%, 70%. It's probably going to be 60.
Okay, Matt, 70%. What say you?
Well, she's even more radical than John F. Kennedy, who brought it down from those rates that she talked about with Dwight David Eisenhower. Even John F. Kennedy realized income tax rates were absurdly high. I think Ronald Reagan, by the way, it wasn't Ronald Reagan who brought rates down to 28. He was one branch of government. It was Dan Rostenkowski and a lot of Democrats who also agreed that we ought to bring those income tax rates down. Remember, Reagan had to deal with a bipartisan Congress, with a Democratic Congress. So, you know,
I think his landslide victory got him to twist a lot of arms. You're right about that, but if it's not 45%, what do you think it should be, Matt?
I think 28% as the top rate is much more in line, because remember, Neil, we're talking about that's where small business gets taxed as well.
Well, you know, there will be this. I remember the Reagan boom we had. You're quite right to mention the spending and the deficits we had. I just think Washington has a propensity under Republicans or Democrats to spend whatever money that's coming in. But a lot of money was coming in from those tax cuts.
But right now, the hardest working Americans, small business owners, as you mentioned, are getting taxed the most. And they still,
but a lot of them
are the lowest in 50 years.
Taxed at the marginal rate.
Sure.
And the marginal rate for them is close to 40%.
Over the past 50 years, this is the lowest the taxes have ever been. There is a false...
You're a very smart woman, and you're going to be a big star.
Well, thank you.
And you will eventually be in the 1%. Are you going to be happy?
I will.
To pay 70%?
I will.
You're lying through your teeth.
I'm an altruist. I'm like Kristen Bell. I'll give it all.
Really? Okay, Matt, I just always think that when I when I hear a lot of liberal friends, and I don't know Nomi well enough to say, she lets really know me rather than Nomiki. What does that say? But I always hear this, yet when they do come into money, very few are willing to part with that much of their money.
That's right. This is basically, it's an income tax. That's really the wrong name. It's a tax on jobs and on work. What wealthy people do when the tax rates go up is they work less. I don't know why that's good for the economy. Some people actually drop out of the economy, and they deal on the vast resources they've been able to save over the years. The fact is we want as many people working in this country as possibly can. That's good for all of us. And by the way, if we're going to raise these tax rates to 90%, 99%, what are we going to do with the revenue? I know what we're going to do with the revenue. We're going to spend it. We're going to spend it on new programs.
You got to choke the beast here. I mean, because the more money you give government, the more it will spend.
Well, to keep the infrastructure in place. I mean, right now there are roads that are in disarray.
Come on.
But it's the truth. How do you think we pay for these things? Right now, the middle class is carrying the burden on the billionaires.
Why don't you show the same creativity for cutting spending as you do in raising revenue?
You know what? Spending has gone down consistently since the Obama administration.
Yeah, because the Republicans took over Congress.
It has gone down. And who who brought that up? Your Bush.
Wait a minute. Hold on. No. Our spending, we spend more. Our budgets go up each and every single year. We got $5 trillion more.
The deficit has gone down more than 50%.
No. We're crowing about $500 billion deficits when they were $1 trillion, and we think we've hit a home run. But those deficits have added to our debt. Our debt is now $5 trillion higher. You're okay with that?
I'm not okay with that. But that's why we should tax the people who are making the most money.
All right.
And the middle income earners are subsidizing them. Is that fair?
I'm now going to call you Cookie Nomiki. That's what we call you. I'm kidding. Guys, we'll see. We can debate this, but you get an idea. What is it? 45% north, south? What is it? Well, I don't care in the meantime how thin you are.